Hello, my name is Ildikó Győri. I'm a psychologist and I'm a mother of a small child who is going to school every day, probably like your children do. And I'm also the founder of School Days, which is a program and also a toolkit for our parents, for the kids, and for the teachers. During these video sessions, we will talk about parts of this toolkit, but I think to start with, we should better talk about the system itself. How did the school, as it was founded 150 years ago, change and probably transform itself to the system which is operating today and where our kids are just going every day. In the early 90s, 1900s, our kids went to school when the citizens of the smaller and then bigger and bigger cities started to work at workplaces apart from their own family members. Before that, for many thousands of years, 2, 3, 4 generations of a family lived together and worked together in a little village. There was no weekdays or weekends, there was just the work to be done, and everyone was part of this work. The mothers, the kids, and also the fathers, and the whole family actually. And the kids were an active part of the whole story. And the school was their everyday life, so they have learned things from their parents, grandparents, and as they grown up, just step by step, day by day, they get known all the things that they needed in their adulthood actually. But then around the 1900s, when the first big companies were to start, this whole system has changed, and the parents just moved from their family members to the city, and they started to work in a different place. It was called workplace actually. And this is a very important change, because what happened if we see the story with the eyes of the kid? First of all, they were not anymore a member of the whole system, the big family. They were not actively working in their childhood. Second, they needed someone to care about them when their parents were at different places, at the workplaces, probably both of them working. So that's when the system called school stepped in, and that's where the education itself started in a different way, actually in a way how it is still done today. What did we need at that time? There was already books, but these books were very different of today. Probably today each of you has a bigger library than a city did at the early 1900s. And these books were very expensive and only available for the teachers or probably for the church. But at home, the families didn't possess any of the books. What did it mean for the kids? For them it meant that they had to listen to the teacher and then make their notes, listen to him, try to memorize what they have heard, and write down some notes in order to be able next week or next month to come back and feedback to the teacher what they have learned. And how was the feedback done? The feedback was done with a pen or pencil and with a sheet of paper, and they just had to write down all the answers to the questions, yeah? And this was logical because there was not any other source of information but just the book and the teacher itself. So the visual part of the information source was the book, and the auditive part was the teacher itself. And it was a very important scenario, and actually the only way how they could learn concrete things. How did it change by today? Just with this simple device, your mobile phone, you are now able to reach any possible information source in the world, on the web, on the special channels. You can have films, movies, soundtracks, lexicons, whatever, a lot of information, probably hundreds of thousands of possibilities to find answer to your questions. But still, today, if you go to school, the system didn't change. There's a teacher who tells that you have a book, probably you have at home also the same book, that's the only thing that has changed, and you have to listen to the teacher, use your auditive way of information resource, and then write down to a piece of paper your answers. And if you're good in this one skill, then you are good at school. If you are good in different skills, for example, searching for information, structuring that probably you are not feedbacked and not given marks on that. So the only skill that today is measured in the school, how good you can listen, how good you can memorize things, and how good you can write it down to a paper. And this is probably not fitting each of us or each of our kids. Next time, in the next video, I will tell you about how to help our kids to still survive in this old system with the new tools and with the new possibilities. So please join us next time, and let's talk about how to help our kids with funny tools which are easy to make and easy to start to live with. Bye bye, see you soon.